Attorney Kip from Malek and Malek. Today I'm going to be talking about workers' comp claims and shoes. And why am I bringing this up? Because of the basis for which your claim may be denied or disallowed. And there's two ways. One way is you're wearing shoes or boots that are ill-fitting and you develop some kind of problem in your foot because of that. And then the other basis is essentially they happen with fall cases, trip and fall cases, and the trip and fall is attributed to something with your shoes. Like you have shoelaces untied or you have floppy shoes, something weird like that. And then the first case, the way that works is it comes from this Anderson case, but basically the court essentially says that if you're wearing shoes that don't fit properly, if you develop like a blister or an ulcer or something wrong with your foot, the employer has no control over that whatsoever. So, for instance, in that case, it's called the Anderson case again. The guy had to buy a particular type of shoe and like a safety shoe, a safety boot, and the employer didn't care what kind of boot he purchased, what brand, whatever, but it just had to adhere to the safety requirements of the company. So they looked at the boots, they signed off, they said this is perfect. This guy ended up developing ulcers in his foot. He filed a claim, and again, the court, they looked at it and they said, hey, employer has no control over the shoes you purchase. You developed this, and you should have taken care of it, and that's your issue, and therefore we're not going to allow that claim. The claimant's attorney or the employee, the injured worker's attorney, basically argued, well, he had to walk across this concrete floor back and forth in this factory. And again, the court says there's nothing peculiar or unique about that flat concrete floor. So again, we're not going to use that as a basis to allow the claim. And so they looked at it. The court, they referred back to this situation where it might be allowed. A dude ended up a lot of similar facts. He had to buy these boots. They were ill-fitting. He ended up developing an ulcer in his foot, and that led to an infection, and he ultimately died. And so the widow filed a death claim, and the court allowed that death claim on the basis of that guy actually had to walk over, that he had to walk in a construction site, so he's walking up and down hills over scraps and rocks and rubble and all these things. And they said that was that work environment was peculiar, and therefore in that instance they would allow it. So bottom line is, if you do have ill-fitting boots, particularly if you have diabetes, make sure that it fits correctly. And if it doesn't, do something about it, because when you're going to try to file a claim on that basis, it's going to be denied. That's the bottom line is. So with these trip and fall type situations, again, that case, it's called the Lafon case. And this guy, he was a yardman. I presume he's working a railroad yard in some capacity. And he had to get on a shuttle bus or van. And as he walked up the steps of the shuttle bus or van, he tripped over his shoelaces. The court, again, they looked at it. He suffered some kind of injury and he filed a workers' comp claim. The court looked at it and they're like, hey, the employer has no control over whether or not your shoes are untied. To be honest with you, I can't really argue against that, because, if your shoes are untied, you got to tie your shoes, right? And that's kind of where the court came down on, is it's kind of your personal responsibility. The employer has no control over. They're not walking around you. They're not nannying you. They're not babysitting you. And so if you fall onto that basis, then the claim is it was a disallowed claim. And I've talked about this in other videos, but when you could file full commission hearings, appeals, and they'll go before the three commissioners, and they come up with these decisions, and you could actually look at those decisions. And I looked at some of these decisions, and one of them, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is if you fell because of your shoes, or you fell and you bring up shoes as the cause of your injury or the reason why you fell, likely it's going to be denied because of that. So be aware of that, because I was reviewing this particular full commission order, and this individual tripped over their shoes in some capacity, and one of the reasons why the full commission decided to deny that was because that person went to the ER. They said, hey, I fell over my shoes, or tripped over my shoes. Went to their BWC physician record. I tripped over my shoes. I think she or he put in their accident injury report with work that she tripped over her shoes. So the court was like, you tripped over your shoes. Again, we're not going to allow this claim. And they kind of put it on a billboard, And if you're basically handing to the employer like, hey, deny my claim, please, in that instance. So bottom line is, if you do trip or fall, just be aware. If you bring up some weird peculiar issue with your shoe, either you have floppy shoes or your shoelaces untied, or it was your shoes are slippery. If you attribute your fall to your shoe at all, it's going to be a good chance your claim is going to be denied. You're going to have to file it to court, and you may lose at court as well. With that being said, if you have any questions or concerns about this or any other issue, leave comments, call me, email me, and I'll try to address them. Otherwise, if you have a workers' comp claim involving this type of injury or any kind of issue, do your due diligence. Reach out to a workers' comp attorney. Either call us, call the Ohio State Bar Association for referral, CBA, Columbus Bar Association for referral. Ask your fellow coworkers if who they use as their workers' comp attorney. But run by your situation by a workers' comp attorney. It's going to pay dividends, and it's going to help you in the end. With that being said, I appreciate you listening to this video. This is Attorney Kip from Malek and Malek. Thank you.